Alrighty. Should you be worried about Chaos Zero Nightmare? So, I didn't know I wanted to share my thoughts with a bunch of strangers online. So, here we are with a bit of a scuffed video. CZN comes out in a few days, but I think it's important to ask ourselves this question. And to kind of make sure that we're moving through that process and the game with, kind of a clear perspective. But before we can answer that question, what is CZN? What are the components that make a game, and more specifically, a good gacha game? First and foremost, it's going to be gameplay, right? Gameplay, combat. This will be king, and gameplay will always be king. And if you don't understand why gameplay is king in a video game, you can blame the public school education that you got. Next will be gacha. We all say we hate gacha, but we secretly love it. You can look exactly at Ethereum Restart. You need the gacha. Next, art. And that means the pretty pixels, means the story, the world building, kind of the works of it. And then the grind. What does it look like when you're past the honeymoon stage? What are you doing, right? You're just logging into dailies, bored out of your mind. There you go, restart. And so when we kind of move to gameplay, this is kind of the first thing you're going to be interacting with, more or less, right? This is going to be the team formation. And for the people who can't count more than 2, I've got you covered. 1, 2, 3. You're going to have 3 operators. It's a big number. And they're each going to have their own partner, which is CZN's take on weapons, artifacts, whatever sort of acumen or jargon you want to use. And they're all going to be, they're all going to have a saved data, which you can't see here. But saved data is going to be essentially what you're grinding for. It's the end game of it. And it all makes sense in a second. So bear with me. We'll circle back. And so when we load into a scenario and we're in an encounter, there's a lot going on here. I get it. But don't worry, I will help you out. So for the smart cookies out there, this green bar right here, HP. You got it right. But it's not. So this is a pooled resource. So if one person dies, that's not possible. It's either the whole team dies or no one dies. So you guys have the shared HP pool and it's all getting pooled into there. Next is this trauma gauge. So each character will have their own individual trauma gauge. And so this is, I don't want to say gimmick, but I guess a selling point of the game is that this trauma gauge right here and how you interact with it and how it's going to make the runs a lot more dynamic and something you really have to think about because you don't want to be put into that state. And so the way this builds up is when you take damage, specifically your HP drops. When this little green bar goes that way, this bar goes that way. And so it depends on who actually got hit. So if they did an AoE attack and it hit everybody, they all get trauma. But if they just did one attack and just sniped Rin right there, only Rin gets the trauma. And so I worded this very carefully for a reason, and I'll get to it in a second. Next is that everyone gets their own little deck of cards. So each operator gets their own deck of cards. And so here's that starting amount. And this is your discard deck. So once you use up all your cards and over here, gets reshuffled and sent back. And each card will have its own cost associated with it. And they'll all do their own things. So you can do healing, you can do shielding, you can do debuffs, buffs, attacks, you name it, right? You're the usual suspects. And you're going to have, this is your action point economy. You're going to have 3 action points to do with it. So if you wanted to do this card here, and this card, and this card, You can't, because that all equals 4 and you only have 3. So if you want to do this one and this one, that equals 3. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So you're good there. So make sure you're mathing. Next is going to be this ego bar here on the side. And so this can fill up all the way up to 6 when all these little rectangles are filled up. And each operator and partner gets their own ultimate skill. And so for the people who've been paying attention, you'll notice there's only 3 right here. And so this is another kind of thing you have to kind of think about when you are moving into elite bosses, or you're trying to, get ready for a more tough encounter, pulling in people's ultimate that you want. For instance, if I wanted to get Rin's ultimate up in there, I would have to use someone else's to possibly get her ult pulled into there. Next, we have the mobs here, but we'll kind of dive into that in a second and what all of this means here. But to circle back here to the trauma state, once this bar fills all the way up, you'll go into a traumatic break. And so it's going to be different for everybody. He gets all sad and stuff. Rin, she gets excited. Let's just say that. And so essentially what happens is all of Rin's cards now are just dead. They don't do anything. So we'll put a little skull here. Give me a second. Trying as fast as I can. So they're all just dead now at this point. They don't do anything. And you lose the portion of HP that Rin was contributing to your HP bar. And so once you're able to play 5 of these dead cards, she'll snap back out of it and she'll be normal. You'll gain your HP back and the bar is going to go back down. So that's kind of how you manage that mechanic. There's not much more to it outside of there's some kind of the sim stuff of it that you can use to kind of like, kind of boost them up a little bit more in the sim part of the game. But right now, that's kind of what it is. You don't want to have a traumatic break at a bad moment because you might die because you have less HP, but it's not a real kind of big detriment. You usually can kind of get through it, at least what it was in the beta. Next thing is when you're starting to like attack and engage, and what do you need to look at with the mobs. And so for this skill right here, this skill right here does 340 damage. And each mob will have their own little thing they're weak to. This is fire, red. I don't know what it's called in this game. There's just way too many. It keeps changing in every game. It's hard to keep up. So we're just going to call it fire or red. They'll take extra damage, right? Makes sense. And they'll take extra break damage. So this is going to be their HP bar up here, and the break bar like there is down here. And so once this break bar reaches the end, as you might suspect, they're going to take more damage, right? Damage up, and then they get stunned. They get, see a bunch of little stars and they're stunned most of the time. When I was playing the demo or the beta, it didn't always happen. I'm like, what the heck, man? I thought I like broke you and you're supposed to be stunned and he still just attacks me. So I don't exactly know how it works. But they're normally stunned and you can do more damage. So it's something to keep in mind. And then the really nice part about this is when you are doing some sort of attack that's damaging them, it will tell you exactly how much damage you're doing, so you can know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly what the outcome is going to be, which is really neat. It's not like Pokemon where you're just kind of guessing. It's like, is this going to OHKO or not? You don't have to run any damage calcs. It will tell you what's going to happen. Solid plus. Love that. Next is this number here. And so I like this mechanic a lot. So essentially, each time you play a card, each time you use an action, this number goes down. And then once it reaches 0, they're going to do their action. So it could be your turn. For instance, if you played these 2 1-cost cards down here, you still have 1 action point and it's still your turn. You haven't ended your turn, but this mob can still attack you. Like you have given it initiative to attack. And when you end your turn, it's going to attack again. So super, super neat. Something to kind of think about when you're prioritizing what to kill first. And then right below this, actually, it tells you what they're going to do. For instance, this icon right here, if I remember correctly, it's going to debuff you. I don't know what the skull does, if I'm being completely honest. There's other ones, pretty like obvious ones. There's going to be a sword. There's going to be a shield. Do I need to explain what that does? I might, huh? I might. Who knows? Sword, damage you. Shield, protect themselves. Great. Let's see. Is that everything when it comes to the bosses? Or when you're fighting? I think so. And so, if you see here, this nice, shiny, sparkly thing, ooh, that's a good thing. Sparkles are good. And that is called an epiphany. And so, an epiphany is, hey, I've done this skill so many times now. Now I have a new level of understanding with it. And this is super important because this is how you spec into new cards for your deck, for your saved data. And you can customize it in any sort of way if you're looking to do different things. For instance, Kayron, you can spec him to have some of his skills actually start healing opposed to damage. You're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I can run Kayron as a support. Heck yeah, and opposed to the damage. Or you can just lean in all the way into the damage. And so it offers a really nice kind of variety of what you want to do. And so that deck building aspect of it, chef's kiss, honestly. And so right here you can see this light bulb is telling you they have an epiphany. They all have an epiphany. So you can see everybody's card, each of them has an opportunity to do it. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure you have enough action points. In this specific instance, you don't have enough action points to do everyone's epiphany. And once you cycle into your next turn, that epiphany's gone. So this doesn't normally happen where everyone gets an epiphany. It's also not very clear when you get epiphanies. It can happen at the start of the run, the first time in the battle, it can happen at the end. For me, it didn't make sense when it does happen. But that's super important in how to kind of start building your deck and getting better saved datas. The next part I want to talk about is the gotcha. So gotcha is one of the sore points of this whole situation. And I've got one word for it. I guess one drawing for it. It's that. It's not great. A lot of people have been talking about this being Hoyofied. 100% Hoyofied. And man, playing Honkai Star Rail back in the day when it was actually good, like having to like just reach so deep to get people's like dupes and stuff because you felt like the FOMO was like, man, this character just kind of sucks without it. Or like, oh, if I can get C1 or C2, like it's going to be way better. Like I can do it. And so they've also adopted that mentality. So their dupe system, what they call ego manifestation. There's 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 dupes you can have, and man, they change the character so much, and I hate that. It's so fucking annoying. Can I cuss? I don't even know. I said ducking with a D. It's so ducking annoying. It's so annoying because it's like, man, like it's always kind of like puts you in this kind of weird ladder position. It's like, if I could have this one or this one, like it'd just be a little bit better. I'm like, I'm almost there. And so it kind of ladders you into to kind of FOMO and trying to, overstretch yourself. And so that's where you have to really kind of think about that. This is a single player game. They haven't announced any sort of PvP or any sort of anything like that. So take it slow. You don't need to run through this game super quickly or anything like that. So take it slow. And the way the banners are going to work, you're going to have 3 banners, 2 that you only really need to care about. This is like, It makes the cards look different for certain characters, like rainbow, prismatic, like gives different hollows for it, hollow foils. And so this top one is going to be the character. Down here is going to be the partner. When I was in the beta, I was actually pulling on the partner banner trying to get new characters because I was like, oh, they've got some cool designs in there. Let me do that because I didn't know. I didn't know all this jargon. And it's like, man. And so I blew a bunch of summons on that and didn't get any new characters. But that's nonetheless. And so 80 is the soft pity, I guess, where you have that 50-50 chance of getting it. Not ideal. I'm not a gambling man at all, which is funny because I play a lot of gacha games, so maybe that's a contradiction. So 160 if you want to guarantee it, which isn't great. The I guess the silver lining of it all is that in the most recent developer commentary, they talked about how they're going to provide lots of different ways for you to earn these ego manifestations. We don't know what the frequency is going to be like how many can you get in what time frame, which is kind of the biggest thing, right? Because if you're trying to like max a character out and be like, oh, I'm a Renoa main and I'm all in, but then you get a brand new shiny toy and you're like, dang, maybe I want to change mains, maybe I want a side piece. You're gonna put in that weird situations like, do I finish or do I not finish? And so the way I'm gonna go into this game is I'm probably just gonna try to hoard as much as possible and just try to dump it all on one banner and just max them out. Who knows if that's gonna actually how it's gonna go for me, but that's what I'm gonna try. And so not ideal, definitely not ideal, but it's definitely better than the latter, right? Because when you think about if you were able to kind of pull every character guaranteed, and there is no 50-50, it's kind of boring, right? Like we've played Etheria Restart and we know what that looks like, and you're like, there's no excitement, right? It doesn't scratch that gotcha itch the right way. So I guess it's a necessary evil, unfortunately. You may disagree with me, but I'm at this point in Etheria Restart where I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I have all this currency for what? Either way, we're not talking about that right now. That's a whole different topic. Let me know if you want me to talk about that. Next is the story. The story it isn't bad, but it starts off super cringy, man, with like the whole like first person view harem incel thing. Like I can just imagine like you're here laying in the bed and you've been injured, you're all sad, and you're covered up, and then you just have this whole harem in front of you and you decide to go camping and pitch a tent. Like, stop. Like, we don't need this in this games, but we know you guys are all a bunch of incel gooners. I'm only a part-time incel gooner. I try to keep things PG. But as you progress the story, there's a lot of voice acting. The visuals are really nice. And you're like, I gave it more of a shot than most other games. And, actually, I didn't mind it, honestly. It's interesting, right? Because they start to bring in a lot of intricacies with like this whole religious sect and a few little mystery meat nuggets along the way, that coupled with that voice dialogue just makes you want to engage with it a lot more. And so essentially the story is just this linear path, and you'll have all these kind of different kind of stray areas where you can, go and interact with, side characters and side stories. It's not bad. And essentially the world building aspect of it's this idea that you're a captain of a ship, a research ship, to expel the chaos. Don't really know what the chaos is, but it has made planets for the most part inhabitable. Big word. And this ship acts as like this mini hub of life because planets are inhabitable. Where the ship is self-sufficient to maintain society. It has like restaurants and all this other stuff, like the Sims sort of things, and try to make you feel like this is the living, breathing ship with things to do. And it's not just like, oh, I'm out here doing missions and just grinding all day. It tries to give you that sim life, which is pretty bare bones and pretty boring. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's just like, here's a policy. This gives us better, morale. This makes us more rich. Which one do you want to do? I'm gonna put my stamp on this one. Super boring. It's in there. I guess it's better than not having it. We'll see. We'll see how it kind of plays out in the long-term effects of it. Let me see. Camera's covering my notes. Next. So this right here is actually that saved data I was talking about. To kind of go back to it. And so when we're talking about the grind, it's really difficult to say how much of grind there really is and what that grind is, because it's all backloaded for obvious reasons, right? They want to, lure you in, build those nice habits and kind of condition you like a Soviet prison camp. So most of the time you'll be here in the chaos manifestation looking to improve your saved data. And the saved data here is each character gets a little sword, they get some armor, and an accessory. They can all be equipped with this, as well as, like I told you earlier, the epiphanies and their deck can be upgraded in different variants. You can find new cards or buy new cards, remove cards from your deck to kind of optimize it to what you want to. And it's all kind of RNG based. So, you're going to be doing it, several different times to try to like get it to the point you want it to be or test different builds. And once you've successfully completed a run in Chaos Manifestation, you can save the data from the end of it. So it's like so you're incentivized to think about just one character in one run, because you won't have enough time to get everybody built up to like this great level. You need to put it all into one character at a time. And so you can save all their data. So if you find this cool sword and a cool armor and, a nice ring, and you've got some epiphanies and you can save the data, you won't have enough stuff to give to other people. So you have to just focus on one, save the data and be like, this is an awesome set, and use that saved data to progress even further and further and further and get higher and higher and kind of climb that ladder. They talk about zero system in the developer commentary. Don't know what it is. We'll see what type of challenges that provides. And so when you are going through the roguelike part of the section, the chaos manifestations, you're going to be essentially webbing through all this stuff like you see in kind of other games, trying to, route in a way that will allow you to better improve yourself or just clear the run. And so these red ones are just normal encounters. These mystery ones are random things. You might find a shop. You might find, a new encounter. These are going to be elite bosses, the bonfires where you can rest up and heal up and give yourself some HP and kind of help with your trauma. You can also find a shop there as well sometimes. And that's kind of pretty much what the grind looks like right now. And outside of that, you have the kind of standard stuff you'll see in gacha games, where you're trying to grind level up experience, right? You need, certain stuff to level yourself up. You need mats to promote their star level. You need stuff for their potential, which is like a talent tree essentially. They'll have all their different talents where they can get crit or attack damage and all those kind of like temporary, small minute buffs. And so you'll need to get the resources to do that as well. Manifestation ego, the manifest ego, that's a dupe system. And so that's what that end game looks like. It wasn't like crazy. It's something I haven't seen before. I'm excited to kind of really dive into the later levels of the roguelike and see how fun that is and how challenging it does get and how much I have to use my brain cells. Lastly, I wanted to talk about is the art. So the art, when I first heard and saw chibi, I was like, dang, I really don't like chibi games. The only one I've ever liked was Dragalia Lost. But once I had it in front of me and I was like, man, this is actually super, super, super beautiful, because it really leans into that super beautiful 2D sprites coming from E7. It's like, this is great. Like, I love it. And, you know, if you didn't watch developer commentary, they were talking about that they needed to make the heads bigger to ensure that they can demonstrate or show the emotions and the characters' faces when they're in scale. So essentially, if they're fighting this huge, you know, evil bad guy, and they're this tiny little person down here, you can't really see anything. So they had to make the heads a little bit bigger so you can see their facial expressions. It's really not that bad. I don't even notice it now at this point. You know, the 2D artwork. It's super, super nice. Which you'll see right here. Oh, what the darnations? Right here. This is the type of stuff we're working with. And so this is what makes the gacha a little more difficult. Because I know a lot of you gooners are going to be thinking not with that, but with that guy. Not the one you should be thinking about. And so it's one of those games where when they're doing some of their ultimate skills or having the traumatic breaks, it's like, you know, I used to take the bus a lot to go to work down in San Francisco, and I have to go downtown all the time. And I would play gacha games on the bus all the time. And this would be one of those games where I'm like, if I'm about to pop off Rin's Ultimate, just, you know, put my phone down, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Like, even right now, like, I don't think my wife knows how much of a gooner game this is, and she's in the other room. So I'm trying to keep it like hush hush. So when I was playing the beta, I would be like, oh, something's going on. Just, you know, turn it sideways, because, you know, it can be a bit much. So I'm going to probably have to keep it a sausage party to keep, you know, peace in the household. Don't want any weird interrogations and stuff. But you guys do you. I'll live vicariously through you. And outside of that, I think that kind of wraps it up. So to answer it, should you be worried about CZN? No. Play the game. Like, you know, right now it seems like it's going to be a golden age of gacha games. We've been in a bit of a drought. We thought Ethereum Restart was going to be our savior. We were wrong. So we thought that was going to be our savior. We're like, yes, please. So hopefully this is our savior. If not, we'll have a couple of other things in the pipeline that might be fun. But I think for sure, try it. I don't think you should be worried at all. This is going to be a fun game. Like I said, the only thing you need to worry about is the gacha. And the other thing is the localization, which they said they're going to fix. And so what I meant by that is, like, a lot of these cards, like, in buffs and debuffs, just did not make a lick of sense. Like, I was playing Kairon, and his cards were talking about banishment. I'm like, what the heck is a banishment? Some of them would say exhaust. I'm like, I don't know how to put this all together, except for just playing and seeing what happens. We'll see how far they get and if it actually makes any sense. Like, a lot of these buffs and debuffs just didn't read right. It's probably some, you know, AI translation sort of stuff where it just made no sense. But other than that, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I may or may not be sick on the 22nd. Like, I will definitely be going to work and being very productive. Other than that, that's all I got to say. Yeah, see ya.